What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. This video is going to be looking at how North Macedonia knocked out Italy from entering the World Cup. And before we get into the tactics and how they managed to do that, this video is brought to you by OneFootball. There's a link in the description. It's an app. It's the best app out there for all things football, following your favorite teams, games, players, transfer news, everything you can think of. That's me to the left of your screen scrolling through the app. There's a link to the app in the description. It's a completely free download and it would support the channel hugely if you guys can check it out. Give it a chance. It's the app I use to follow all my favorite teams, national teams, club games, everything you can think of, and it has the latest news. So be sure to check that out in the description below. And as always, check out both my books. They're in the description, so give that stuff a look, and let's get right into the tactics behind the match. So with North Macedonia, when they were in possession of the ball, their possession phase didn't last very long. They played very direct and tried to be efficient. Now, Italy were dangerous in their offensive transition and recovered the ball quite high a few times. So with Immobile going to press, Barella would then be jumping behind him from the midfield three, creating more of a 4-2-3-1 shape out of possession. So when the ball would be circulated to the right central defender, Immobile would go and press. When it was the left central defender, Barella would go and jump to then play with a more man-oriented approach against the high block, maximizing Italy's qualitative superiority against North Macedonia's players. So as we see, Barella goes to jump, leaving the midfield three of Italy and initiating a high pressing sequence. So then moving into the midfield third, North Macedonia's right fullback played a bit more narrow and a bit deeper to then give them more control over possession. Also, their holding midfielder would typically drop to the left-hand side, clearing out the central pivot area, and often having a more offensive midfielder drop to then form a double pivot, giving North Macedonia more control over their offensive phase. So when they would then play forward, they looked to play direct into their number 9 or their number 19 in the number 9 position, dragging out a central defender and looking to target the space in behind. They would also look to play this very direct pass to the left winger to then secure second balls, but their main source of progression would to be target the space in behind from their target man. Now, when Italy were in possession of the ball, they started with a 4-3-3 structure, and moving into the midfield third and higher up the field, they would then shift their right fullback to become a right central defender and a back three, and this would create a very positional play approach, with then the wingbacks or wingers occupying height up the field with Insigne through the left half space, creating an overload with Verratti, having more mobility as a number 8 to then go forward, and Jorginho playing as a single pivot. This would give them presence in both half spaces, vacating the right-hand side a little bit more to then utilize the space while creating an overload on the left. So when North Macedonia would go and shift, they'd start in a 4-2-3-1. And I think one of the things that worked really well for North Macedonia was they didn't sit back in a low block the entire match. They did defend higher up the field, making it harder for Italy. Even though Italy did create some very high probability chances, North Macedonia was structured in their approach and got the victory they needed from the match. So when North Macedonia would then press, they'd play in a man-oriented midfield to then control the single pivot and spaces between the lines. So then when Italy would then go to try and progress the ball, they'd use the right-hand side for the space, dropping Barella out into a wider area and creating positional interchanges on this right-hand side, where then we can see Verratti on the weak side dropping deeper alongside Jorginho to create a double pivot, manipulating North Macedonia's shape, and going against the low block compactness goes from North Macedonia from a 4-2-3-1 to more of a 4-4-1-1, with then a clear number 10 and a clear number 9 to aid in their offensive transition. We'd see progression from our central defenders to draw out the midfielders of North Macedonia, and North Macedonia also did a very good job at staggering their midfielders, using their cover shadows to then maximize their spatial control. So when a midfielder would jump from North Macedonia, they'd have their two following midfielders in covering positions, controlling the space between the lines. And although at times Italy did progress into these dangerous assist zones, they were able to have good marking in the box as well to then limit the number of dangerous opportunities Italy was able to create. And that's where we're going to wrap up the analysis. Thanks guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.